it's a fascinating character. I mean, obviously he's so sort of self-destructive, and there's such a sort of nuanced role with so much sort of going on in his mind. I mean, it must just be just a treat for an actor to get his teeth stuck into. When you got that screenplay, you must have just thought, yeah, this is one for me.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so rare to be able to, as you said, all that aspect of Johnny, but also just to kind of see a character on the page that jumps out at you, and you think there is no aspect of myself in Johnny. And so the ability to kind of play with a total transformation doesn't often happen. So certainly it was one of the best things ever. It was reading that script for the first time.
And did you know right from the offset that it was going to be required that you would have to do some sort of real, actual farming, or was that something Francis waited for everyone to sign on and go, oh, by the way, guys?
That's a good point. I didn't know. It's sort of chicken and egg, that one, because I remember reading it and then meeting Francis for the first time, and we just talked about the script and we talked about the character, and the initial meetings were about the character and how I wanted to work and how Francis wanted to work. I think it was fairly apparent. The way it's written is in such detail from Francis that I would have been very surprised if Francis had turned around and said, so we're going to, we're obviously you're not going to do the farming, we're going to have hats, doubles to do that and this. It would have been extraordinary because the way it's written requires such authenticity that I think I wouldn't want to do it any other way. So that was all. I felt like it feels like that was always a plan, although I'm sure there would have been a meeting where Francis had kind of told me and I would have been disgusted and shocked. Yeah.
I mean, how did you find all of the farming? I mean, obviously the sticking your hand up a cow's backside was what everyone, but I mean, obviously actors always have to do sometimes things that they wouldn't usually do, but I mean, how did you find, because I mean, some of it's quite, it takes up some stomach sometimes to sort of do some of the...
Yeah, it's weird. It's got, looking back, yeah, I can see why people would think that, and I think maybe there might have been a moment, but actually once because I worked on the farm for 2 weeks before we started filming, the farm that we shoot the film on. And I worked with a farmer called John, who remains a very good friend of mine. And I think the first day I worked on that farm, there might have been some teething issues. I think I got knocked over by a sheep. And then you're thrown into it. There's no time to think, isn't it? This is a bit weird. Or, should I be doing this or should I be doing... There's no time. The weather's so unforgiving, the landscape's so unforgiving, and you've got no time to do anything. You've got a schedule to keep. And if you drop anything from that day, then the next day you get behind. So actually, I don't know that I had an awful lot of time to really think much about the farming, apart from just how hard they work and how tough that job is. Yeah.
I mean, I met Francis. It's so clear that he had such a meticulous vision for this, and he had such an incredible idea of what he wanted both characters to be. But I mean, was he very open to conversation? Did he really want you to kind of bring your own kind of ideas onto the role as well?
Well, I mean, Francis is such an actor's director, and he gives so much time to actors, and that for him is the process. It's about providing a kind of safe space for actors to do their best work. And so in terms of the prep and the research, Francis very much guided us, but let us run and let us invent and create in terms of the backstory. In terms of the actual story of the film and the script itself, there's absolutely no improvisation. Everything that you see in this film is written, including all the action. It's written in total detail. The dialogue's fairly thin, but the script was thick, full of absolute poetical detail. And that's Francis. That's how he likes to work. He had a vision for this film, and he drove it home from beginning to end.
Is it quite a tough one to watch back? Because, I mean, it's such an intimate, quite candid portrayal of this character. I mean, obviously, in the opening scene, he's throwing up. I mean, how's it watching it back for you? Because, I mean, it's so intimate, isn't it? It doesn't leave anything behind. It's really kind of just shows everything about this character. Yeah,
well, I think it would have been strange for it not to. But again, it comes from day one, that first reading of this story. There are three main characters, I think, in this film, and that's Johnny, Georgi, and the camera. Because the camera is literally kind of right up in Johnny's face and Georgi's face from beginning to end. the audience is let into this relationship in such a close way, an intimate way, that all those moments, you know, you really feel it, and you feel like you're part of this relationship, which works, you know, hopefully, because then people have the added kind of feeling at the end of hope, you know.
I mean, it's such a beautiful romantic story, and I remember when I was speaking to Alec in Romania, he said he did a stage play a few years ago where he played a gay character on stage, and they had to have police at the venue every single night because they were worried about people. I mean, but how important is it we have a film like this that just depicts love in the most universal, most relatable way, and it doesn't really matter what the sexual orientation is?
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I think this film is a love story about vulnerability and about emotional availability, and that works across all spectrums, all backgrounds across the world. So hopefully, there's a universal understanding of this film, which I think is very important. Yeah. And
just finally, do you think about where the two of them end up afterwards, or are you one of those actors where the second the screenplay kind of finishes for you, that's where your investment finishes, or do you like to think about where they go from here?
I don't. I mean, in terms of my process, I didn't go any further than the end of the film, but I'm sure there's many theories. But I'd like to think that there's a positive outcome, and regardless of whether they're together or not, for Johnny, I think he's in a much better place at the end of the film than where he was at the beginning.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!